The moment we've been bracing for has erupted with shattering clarity as the United States has boldly stepped into the Israel-Iran war, altering the course of history with a single decisive blow. Around 4 a.m. Indian time, American B-2 Spirit stealth bombers unleashed the MOP, Massive Ordnance Penetrator, a staggering 30,000-pound, 13,000 Taliskite bomb targeting Iran's most critical nuclear facilities. Two B-2 aircraft executed this precision operation, striking the Fordow enrichment site, the Natanz uranium enrichment facility, and at least 3 other key locations where enriched uranium is stored, processed, and weaponized. Military analysts and nuclear experts are unanimous. Iran will not be capable of developing nuclear weapons for the next 10 to 15 years. When we say cannot, we mean it in the most absolute sense, like the famous dialogue from Indian cinema, dead as a doornail. This morning, as of 3:32 p.m. IST on Sunday, June 22, 2025, I'll break down this game-changing U.S. intervention, Iran's catastrophic collapse, the role of global powers, and the profound implications for India and the world. Iran simply does not possess the capability to defend its own territory, let alone launch an offensive against a foreign superpower. The U.S. operates from nearly 14,000 kilometers away, supported by an advanced fleet of aircraft, refueling tankers, AWACS surveillance planes, and fighter escorts, striking with surgical precision and vanishing without a trace. This operation, launched from a secret base in the Persian Gulf, left Iran's leadership and military utterly paralyzed, their air defenses rendered obsolete by American stealth technology. What does this signify? After years of grandiose threats, we will burn America to the ground. We will annihilate Israel. We will destroy the world. What has Iran actually accomplished? The harsh truth is that its leaders might as well swallow poison and commit suicide because they are powerless to do anything meaningful. This intervention builds on Israel's 9-day offensive, which has already demolished Iran's oil infrastructure, military bases, strategic installations, nuclear research centers, missile production facilities, and weapons factories, reducing a once formidable nation to a shadow of its former self. In India, radical Islamist factions and their sympathizers kept chanting, "Iran will retaliate." I maintained from the beginning that they wouldn't, a stance rooted in a deep analysis of Iran's military weaknesses. The Indian media, however, insisted, "Just wait, Iran will strike back." But I stood firm, they cannot. Why? A thorough examination of Iran's military-industrial capabilities reveals a reliance on rudimentary missile technology, lacking precision guidance systems, satellite positioning, and advanced targeting mechanisms. Their arsenal, much of it reverse-engineered from outdated Soviet designs, is largely improvised. They launched around 200 missiles initially, then 50 more, and now approximately another 30, but most were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome and U.S. Patriot systems. The few that reached their targets caused negligible damage, minor injuries at best, with no significant civilian casualties reported as of this morning. From the very first day, I asserted that Iran is incapable of meaningful retaliation. Their military has no functional defense system, let alone an offensive one, a fact underscored by their inability to detect or counter the B-2 bombers. When Israel and the U.S. unleashed devastation upon their nation, Iran's leaders went into hiding, some in deep underground bunkers beneath Tehran, others reportedly fleeing to neutral countries like Oman or Turkey. Even their supreme leader disappeared from public view, a stark contrast to his earlier fiery speeches. This is what I meant when I said that war must be analyzed with cold precision. These fanatics have no real combat experience. They only know how to ride horses and scream slogans, a tactic reminiscent of medieval warfare. Modern warfare is driven by cutting-edge technology, drones, cyber warfare, and satellite-guided munitions, and Iran has none of it. They rely on religious zeal, but war isn't about ideology. It's about technological supremacy. Without advanced capabilities, victory is impossible. India's radical Islamists and their cheerleaders continue to rant. But look at Iran, once the mighty Persian Empire. After 8 brutal years of war with Iraq, where does it stand today? In ruins, with its cities scarred and its people suffering. They keep shouting, "We will burn this, we will burn that." But in reality, it is Iran that is burning. Its people are fleeing, its military command has collapsed, and its remaining forces are hiding in tunnels. This is the fate of those who boast without substance. On the battlefield, they are nothing. Iran spent 30 years and billions of dollars trying to develop nuclear weapons, funneling resources into a program that was more propaganda than progress, only for its entire effort to be wiped out in a single hour by the US strike. Similarly, Israel's 9-day assault has left Iran in shambles, its military, economy, and infrastructure in tatters. What happened to all their threats? We will attack America. We will burn their bases. This war is effectively over. All that remains are symbolic, futile gestures like Iran's recent launch of 30 missiles after the US bombing. It's nothing but a desperate show of defiance, with most missiles intercepted or falling harmlessly into the desert. They lack the capability and the courage for real retaliation. The US maintains 22 military bases across the Middle East, from Qatar to Bahrain, each a potential launch pad for further strikes. If Iran dares to strike even one, the country will be torn apart, divided into 3 or 4 smaller states under a US-led coalition. That is the inevitable consequence. Iran's recent missile launches are purely for domestic propaganda. They know they cannot win. They cannot attack America, nor can they destroy Israel. The Six-Day War and the current conflict have proven Israel's overwhelming superiority. From a distance of 2,500 to 2,000 kilometers, Israel has effortlessly crippled Iran, a nation many times its size. What can Iran do now? Fire a few outdated missiles, most of which are intercepted. Meanwhile, the Indian media and radical elements kept shouting, Iran will retaliate. Where is this retaliation? Iran has effectively surrendered unconditionally. Their foreign ministers' recent discussions with European diplomats in Geneva revealed their desperation, with pleas for a ceasefire and humanitarian aid. America's demands are not limited to nuclear disarmament. They require total submission, including the dismantling of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and oversight of remaining military assets. This is why Iran's leaders are in panic. Today, Iran stands humiliated, issuing statements that they will not attack America, a far cry from their earlier bravado. Who created this situation? The so-called resistance leaders who instigated this conflict on October 7th, believing they could outmaneuver Israel and its allies. I predicted then that this war would end in Iran's destruction, and now it has. Only meaningless skirmishes remain. With this, the era of Shia Islamic dominance in Iran is finished. The dream of an Islamic bomb is dead for at least the next 10-15 years. Israel and America have ensured that, with the US strike delivering a final blow to Iran's nuclear ambitions. Iran's leaders are now begging for mercy. Their statements make that clear, with back-channel negotiations hinting at a willingness to comply with international demands. The war's outcome is undeniable. Iran is defeated. Many of its radical supporters in India still don't comprehend. Their so-called champion is collapsing. The Shia theocratic regime, born from the 1979 revolution, is breathing its last, its legitimacy eroded by years of economic mismanagement and military failure. This collapse has global ramifications, with oil prices spiking as Iran's production halts, affecting India's energy imports and inflation rates. The Middle East stands at a crossroads, with Iran's isolation deepening as Russia and China, its former allies, prioritize trade with Gulf states like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. No Islamic nation, not even Pakistan, openly supports Tehran, leaving it diplomatically stranded as Turkey and Qatar distance themselves to avoid US sanctions. For Indian workers in the Gulf, particularly in the UAE and Saudi Arabia, this instability poses significant risks. Iran's desperation could lead to erratic attacks on US allied nations, threatening economic hubs where millions of Indians work, sending vital remittances home, over $10 billion annually, a lifeline for many families. The Indian government is monitoring the situation closely, with evacuation plans in place for its citizens in Iran, reflecting the urgency as of 3:32 p.m. IST on Sunday, June 26, 2025. Iran's economy, already strained by sanctions, is now in freefall, with its currency plummeting to record lows and basic goods like bread and medicine scarce. The regime's internet blackout, intended to control narratives, has failed, as citizens use satellite phones and VPNs to share footage of the devastation, further fueling unrest and protests in cities like Shiraz and Mashhad. The humanitarian crisis is dire, with millions displaced and unconfirmed reports of thousands dead, numbers the regime suppresses through a total media blackout. Israel's precision strikes and the US's overwhelming power have dismantled Iran's military backbone, leaving its people to bear the cost of their leaders' hubris. The international community is divided, with the United Nations debating a resolution as European nations push for humanitarian corridors, while Israel and the US demand Iran's unconditional surrender. As the world watches, this war's end could usher in stability or plunge the region into further chaos, depending on how the power vacuum is managed. May this outcome bring stability to the world, but the road ahead remains uncertain as Iran's fate hangs in the balance, with its people yearning for relief and its leaders facing an uncertain future. Stay tuned for updates on this historic turning point.